All right, so in this video, we're going to go over the test review from start to finish. First of all, it's giving you a picture, and it tells you that the volume is 9,000. So first thing we always want to do is write down the appropriate formula, and then we'll start plugging in what we know. So it tells us that the volume is 9,000. I need to figure out what big B is. To find big B, I'm going to do base times height, which in this case is 30 times 15, which is 450. So I'm going to plug in 450 for big B, and I don't know the H. That's what I'm looking for. So to undo multiplication, I'm going to divide, and I'm going to do that on both sides. So my height ends up being 20 centimeters. So using that information, it's now asking me how many square centimeters of concrete does the block have. So again, I'm going to write my formula, perimeter times height plus 2 times the base. And the perimeter is going to be 30 plus 30 plus 15 plus 15. And that should be 90. The height is what I just found out up here, 20, plus 2 times big B means area of the base, which I found right up here. So the order of operations, I've got to do these multiplication parts first. So that's going to be 1,800 plus 900, which all together is going to give me a total surface area of 2,700, and that is going to be centimeters squared because it is surface area. The next part's talking about a triangular prism, and it wants to know how many square feet, which means it's looking for surface area. Since it's talking about surface area of fabric and it doesn't specify, we're going to assume that it's total surface area. So again, I'm going to write my formula, perimeter times height plus 2 times the base. I'm going to go over here and find my perimeter. The base is the triangle, and so it's 5. I know that because of these tick marks. 5 plus 5. And then it's 5 at the bottom as well, so that is an equilateral triangle. And I'm going to go ahead and find the area of the base while I'm over here too. Please remember that it is a triangle, so you have to divide by 2. And that the base of that base is 5, and the height is going to be 6. And then I need to divide by 2. So 5 times 6 is 30, divided by 2 is 15, and that's my base area. Now I'm going to be plugging in what I know. The perimeter is 15. Remember that this H is the height of the prism. The height of the prism should always be the distance from base to base. So I'm going to highlight both of my bases, and that makes it a little bit easier to see that this 9 is the height from base to base. 6 is not the height of the prism, that's the height of the triangle. So 2 times B, B is 15. So now I have 15 times 9, which is 135. And I have 2 times 15, which is 30. So overall, this is going to be 165, and that is feet squared because it is area. It says the triangular entry was open to allow air circulation. How many square foot of fabric is guarding the campers from the outside environment? So essentially what they're telling us is we're removing one of these flaps. So that's one base. So my total was 165, and I'm subtracting one base, which is 15. So how much is guarding them? That's 150 feet squared. Number 5, a skunk is sprayed. The odor has filled the tent with an obnoxious smell. How many cubic feet, let's talk about volume, of space has been affected? So volume is big B times H. Big B, we've already found it. We found it up there, is 15. And then H is the height of the prism. So the height of the prism, again, was this 9 feet right here. So I'm going to do 15 times 9, which is 135, and this is feet cubed because it is volume. A cube has a volume of 27 inches cubed. What is the dimension of each side? If we're looking at a cube, please remember that all sides are the same. So when we do big B, it's going to be x times x. So the volume is big B times H. 27 is our volume. Big B was x times x. I don't know what it is. And then H is also x. So basically, you're looking for a number multiplied by itself 3 times that will give you 27. Well, 1 times 1 times 1 is 1. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 3 times 3 times 3, 27. So each side length has to be 3 inches long, because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. So basically, I'm just working backwards. The paperweight shown is in the shape of a square pyramid. The slant height is 7. The slant height, please remember, goes from the vertex, okay, this top point up here, down one of the lateral faces and is perpendicular, makes a right angle, with the base of that lateral face. So it does tell me that the base area is 16 inches squared, which means each side is 4, because 4 times 4 is 16. We're going to determine the lateral surface area, which the lateral surface area is 1/2 perimeter times slant height. The perimeter of this is 4 plus 4 plus 4 plus 4, or in other words, 4 times 4, which is 16. It's 1/2 that perimeter times my slant height, which I said is 7. 1/2 of 16 is 8. So 8 times 7, this is going to be 56 inches squared. Total surface area is going to be that 1/2 perimeter times L plus only one base, because it is a pyramid. So I've already got the 56 that I found for my lateral, and then the base area they gave me is 16. So that's going to be 72 inches squared. Next, I'm going to find the volume. This is a pyramid, so it's 1/3 base times height. Please remember that this is the same thing as base times height divided by 3, whichever way you prefer to look at it. The base area is 16. Now the height of the pyramid they gave us over here. And the height actually goes from this vertex all the way down the center of the pyramid, and it makes a right angle with the entire base. So that height is 6.7. Now if I multiply, I'm actually going to do 16 times 6.7 first and then divide by 3 to make my math a little bit easier. If you were actually to do that calculation, you would get 35.7, and that's inches cubed. I'm not actually going to do it right now because I don't want to waste your time. Okay? The next one says it's crawfish season. Al is filling the stock pot 3/4 full of water and seasonings. Before evaporation, what is the volume of the water he used? So essentially, we're going to find the volume of this, and then we're going to multiply by 3/4, because we want 3/4 of it. And remember that keyword of means multiply. So the volume is base times height. This is a cylinder, so my base is going to be pi r squared. I am going to use 3.14 for pi. And my radius, oh look, inches, feet. So my diameter is 12 inches, which means my radius is 6 inches. Be very careful of that conversion. So when I multiply all of that together, oops, I don't have that on my page. When I multiply all of that together, I'm going to turn around and multiply that by the height. There's my calculator. So it's 3.14 times 6 times 6, which is 113.04. I'm going to take that and plug it into my formula and multiply by the height, which is 18 inches. And that's going to give me 2,034.72. Now at this point, I only want 3/4 of that. So I'm going to multiply by 3/4, or you can do 0.75, whichever you're more comfortable with. And that should give me 1,526.04, and that is cubic inches. Okay. Number 9, Mr. Hall has given each young artist the following object to create a masterpiece with. He told them that it's a cube with a square pyramid. He wants the artist to paint the figure. So if you're going to paint this, you're only painting the outside of that, the outside of this, and one base. So we're going to find the total surface area first. So we need, pardon me, with my highlighter. We need to find the lateral area of the pyramid, which is 1/2 perimeter times slant height. And we need to find the lateral area of our cube, our cube, which is going to be perimeter times h, but we're also going to add in one base. So 1/2, the perimeter, is going to be 4 times 4, 16, because again, this is a cube, so they're all the same. And the slant height they gave us is 8. And please remember that this is not the slant height. The slant height is a height of one of the lateral faces. So your slant height is actually here. And so that's going to give me 64. And this perimeter is the same because from top to bottom, they're still sharing that same square, so 16. Now we're actually talking about the height of this. Since it's a cube, everything is 4. So this is also 64. And then we need one base. Well, 4 times 4, the base area is also 16. So we're going to add in 16. So 64 plus 64 plus 16 gives me 144, and that's inches squared, because it is surface area. On the next one, how many cubic? Okay, so we need the volume of the pyramid, which is 1/3 base times height. We need the volume of the cube, which is just base times height. Now remember, again, 1/3 base times height is the same thing as saying base times height divided by 3. Some people are more comfortable with that. So the base is 16. The height of the pyramid is this. Because remember, the height goes from the vertex down, making a right angle with that base right there. So the height is 6. And that's going to give me 32. The cube is 16 times 4, which is 64. Because again, that base area is 16, and the height, since it's a cube, is 4. So 64 and 32 gives me 96, and that's inches cubed. Number 10. Help Cindy answer these questions. This was for the above part. Maddie plans to construct a square pyramid from the net. She's going to use it in a live game of Angry Birds. So we're going to calculate the surface area, the lateral surface area, which is 1/2 perimeter times L. Now, when we look at this, we've got, give me 1 second. Okay, so if you imagine this together, this is a lateral face. Notice how this is the height of the lateral face. That makes it L. So when we plug in, the perimeter is from our base, which is 12 times 4, so 48. My slant height is 10. So this is going to be 240 centimeters squared for my lateral. For my total surface area, I just need to add in one base, because it's 1/2 perimeter times L plus one base, which is 240. I found that from up there. And then the base is 12 times 12, because it's a square. So that's 144. So together, that is going to give me 384 centimeters squared. Number 11. Mark plans to join Maddie in the fun. He has 2 similar nets, as seen below. The second has been reduced by a scale factor of 1/2, so it's half the size. So if this radius was 12, this one must be 6. This slant height is 16, this one must be 8. The height, 10. How many square millimeters, we're looking for area, of material was used to construct the smaller cone? So it doesn't ever say anything about what part, so we have to assume total surface area. And it is a cone, so it's going to be pi r L plus pi r squared. So this is 3.14 times r, which is 6, and times L, which is 8, plus 3.14 times r squared. R was 6. So 6 times 6. So I'm going to use my calculator, 3.14 times 6 times 8. This part's going to give me 150.72. And 3.14 times 6 gives me 113.04. If I add those two values together, which is the next step in order of operations, I get 263.76. And I actually think our instructions told us to round to the nearest 10th, which I don't think I've been doing up until now. So this is 263.8, and that's millimeters squared. Now it's asking how many cubic millimeters, that's volume, of the larger cone. So volume is going to be base times height, 1/3 of that, because it's a cone. Or again, that's base times height divided by 3. So I'm going to go over and find my base first on the side, which is pi r squared. So that's 3.14 times my radius, which is 12. So 12 times 12 times 3.14 gives me 452.16, which now I'm going to go and plug in. And then my height was 20. So when I plug that all into my calculator, I end up with 3,014.4, and that is millimeters cubed. All right, so this figure is a little bit tough to see on this notebook, but basically the way that it is drawn, oops, sorry, there should be one more. I think it's over there. Is like that. So when you look at this, this base is a 5-sided figure. So that means that it is a pentagonal prism. And the first section says the prism has how many vertices? Well, if it's a pentagonal prism, then it's going to have, I finished drawing that. Sorry. It's going to have 5 vertices at the top, and it's going to have 5 vertices at the bottom. So that makes a total of 10 vertices. Now bases, since it is a prism, it's got to have 2 bases, and now it's asking about edges. So there will be 5 edges up top, 5 edges down below, and 5 edges around the middle. So 5, 5, and 5 makes 15. On the last page, to change the company's image and for more efficient packaging, a juice producer is going to switch from the present cylinder to a triangular prism box. We need to determine the amount of juice the can holds. Round to the nearest cubic centimeter to allow airspace within. So basically they're just telling us to round. So if I'm going to look at how much it holds, that is volume, which is base times height. Now I'm going to come over here and find my base, which is pi r squared. And that's going to be 3.14 times my radius, which is half my diameter, so I divided by 2, is 3 by 3. So, or sorry, is 3. So 3 times 3 is 9, and 9 times 3.14, I need to grab my calculator again. Okay, is 28.26. So I'm going to plug that in for my base, and then I'm going to multiply by my height. The height of my cylinder is 8, and so that altogether is going to give me 226.08. And it did say round to the nearest cubic centimeter. That means whole number. So this is going to be 226 cubic centimeters. Now, the main reason we told you to round that way is because the next one we're going to do is determine the height of the triangular prism if it's going to hold the same amount of juice as the can. So the can, we have volume equals base times height. The can was 226. We need to find the area of the base of this triangular prism. So we have a 6, 8, 10 right triangle. So if you have a right triangle that is 6, 8, and 10, to find the area of the base, it's b times h divided by 2 for any triangle. My b and h, because of that right triangle, or that right angle, is 6, 8, and it's divided by 2. So 48 divided by 2 gives me 24. And I don't know the height of that prism. So essentially what it's asking me to do is set up an equation and work backwards. So I'm going to divide by 24 to get rid of this multiplication here. And so h is going to give me 4.708, which, because it said to the nearest centimeter, that means I'm rounding to my nearest whole number, so it gets 5 centimeters. So the next one talks about how much foil paper will be needed to construct each container. So that's talking about surface area. And the surface area of a cylinder is 2 pi r squared, that's your bases, plus 2 pi rh, that's your lateral surface area. So I'm going to plug in 2 times 3.14 times my radius, which was 3, times 3, because it's 3 squared. 2 times 3.14 times my radius, which is 3. And the height of that one was 8. So I'm going to go and plug this in my calculator, and that's going to give me 56.52. Now please remember, don't round until your final answer. Plug that one in my calculator, and I get 150.72. Add those two together, and it gives me 207. And I'm going to go ahead and round. My rounded answer is 207. Oh, sorry. The answer is 207.24, and we're rounding, so we get 207.2. And that is, I think, centimeters squared. It is squared because it's area. So the triangular prism is going to be perimeter times height plus 2 times the base. Now the perimeter, remember this was a 6, 8, 10 right triangle. So 6, 8 is 14 plus 10 is 24 for my perimeter. Times the height, which we found earlier, which is 5, plus 2 times the base. The base is going to be that 6 times 8 divided by 2, because it's base times height divided by 2. So that's 48 over 2, which is 24. And I also found that value earlier. So I'm going to multiply 24 times 5, which gives me 120. And I'll multiply 2 times 24, which gives me 48. And now I can add those together to get 168 centimeters squared. Okay? So that's all on our review. Please make sure that you look back over your quiz and past homework assignments as well as notes when you're studying for this test.